Join me on a quest to discover the real story behind King Solomon's legendary mines. According to the Bible, his vast stores of gold came from a mysterious land called Ophir. But in the 3,000 years since King Solomon reigned, explorers, prospectors, and treasure hunters have searched for Ophir and King Solomon's mines in vain. Is the source of his wealth so secret that no one will ever find it? Or are there clues that other treasure seekers have missed? To find out, I'll explore ancient mines in Israel.
Why are these called King Solomon's mines?
Descend deep into a gold mine in Zimbabwe.
We're like this. We're struggling to keep flat against this rock.
And search Ethiopia's remotest villages from the air. We're digging for the truth, and we're going to extremes to do it. It's one of the most famous mysteries of the ancient world. Where did the vast caches of gold of King Solomon come from? How did he amass the riches which, along with his wisdom, made him one of the most celebrated kings in history? There's no doubt about where his treasures were once displayed. It was here, in Jerusalem, one of the most sacred and spiritual cities in the world. Holy to three of the world's great religions, it's where the Temple of King Solomon once stood.
The Temple of King Solomon was built here in Jerusalem on what's called the Temple Mount. According to the Bible, it was literally covered in gold, which came from a place called Ophir.
The Temple Mount today is nothing compared to how this place looked 3,000 years ago when King Solomon ruled. According to the Bible, his temple was one of the most stunning ever built. In the second book of Chronicles, it's written, "He overlaid the house, the beams, the posts, and the walls with gold." Even the nails that King Solomon used were golden. But the temple's wealth would also prove its downfall. In 586 BC, Jerusalem fell to the army of King Nebuchadnezzar. According to the Book of Kings, the riches of King Solomon's temple were plundered and carried away to Babylon. And despite thousands of years of searching, these treasures have never been found. But if the treasure of the first temple remains elusive, what of the physical source of King Solomon's gold? Again, the Bible provides the few surviving clues. It tells how most of Solomon's gold came from a faraway land called Ophir. The rest was a gift from the mysterious Queen of Sheba.
The trouble is, no location for Ophir was ever given, and despite 3,000 years of searching, it's never been found.
The result? A quest that's lasted 3 millennia and covered entire continents. Some have searched ancient mines in Israel, thinking they must be Solomon's. And in the 1870s, a German explorer named Karl Mauch searched for the biblical land of Ophir in Zimbabwe. And still others have searched in Ethiopia, legendary home of the Queen of Sheba, and according to some, the site of King Solomon's mines. I'm going to begin my quest in southern Israel. My first lead, a place which for years has been marked on maps as King Solomon's mines. First discovered in the 1930s, archaeologists thought they had stumbled on the fabled source of Solomon's wealth. My destination is deep in the Negev desert. It's a hot and barren landscape, but it's also rich in minerals. Could this really be the location of King Solomon's mines? To find out, I've met up with Dr. Sariel Shalev, an archaeologist who specializes in the history of ancient mining and metalwork.
So I suggest we'll stop here, somewhere. Let's go out.
So Sariel, where are we?
We are in Timna Basin and in Timna Crater. All those walls and all this area is full of holes made by men in antiquity, basically.
So this place has holes that were used for mine shafts?
Yes.
How many?
Well, hundreds, and some people say thousands.
I see. Now wait a minute, this wouldn't have been here 4,000 years ago.
No, this is a modern reconstruction, of course.
Oh. But the mine shaft is real.
Yes.
Oh.
Okay. Here you could see the chisel marks making the shaft, basically.
Maybe it's because I'm from the West, but when I think of mine shafts, I'm thinking horizontal pits dug into a mountain. But you said that this is a mine shaft too.
This is a vertical pit reaching a horizontal one under the ground. And then if you want to see those...
Yeah, I want to see one. I can actually jump down inside?
Why
Explore?
Not?
Get dirty?
Why not?
All right.
Why not? Gold could be found as a natural metal, and it's very easy to extract. Funny thing is that gold was not the first metal to be used. In most cases, we have objects made of copper. Basically, that's how it's all looked like when the archaeologists came to the region. They didn't know what it is. They thought first these are water pits or something like that.
Yeah.
And when they started to clear some of those, the next stage they saw was something like that.
Yeah.
You see that this is a hole. This is a hole in the ground, and it continues and continues and continues down. Close to 37 meters. That's what they did.
These potholes are really ancient mines filled with centuries of sand. Sariel leads me inside a complex honeycomb of narrow, winding shafts cut into the sandstone hills. Over 5,000 of these tunnels have been discovered here, making this the largest mining operation of the ancient world.
How big were these ancient miners?
More or less like us, but they
how could they be?
luxury that we are used to. Okay, let's go from here. Seems slightly lighter. Oh, God.
I think I'm a little bit taller, Doc.
Sariel wants to show me some evidence of the metal that was mined here.
What? What do we got?
Do you have some water? Do you see it better now?
Yeah, that's a neat trick. And what is this? What mineral is this?
Copper.
Copper.
Copper mineral. Copper silicate in this case.
So all these veins running through here are copper.
Just.
Where's the gold?
Not here.
No gold. Then why are these called King Solomon's mines?
Well, because the people wanted to have King Solomon's mines because they are mentioned in the Bible.
The tangible evidence of King Solomon's reign wouldn't be discovered here, nor would gold. So who did build these mines, and why?
Copper was more precious than gold in those periods sometimes.
No, wait, I didn't know that. Copper was more precious than gold?
Yes.
So it's possible that King Solomon got copper from these mines.
You want the real answer?
Yeah.
So let's go to the next place.
Okay.
The best evidence as to who built these mines isn't below ground. It's in the cliffs above it. Because there's nothing in these mines that can be reliably carbon dated.
So what site is this?
This is a site that was built by the workers in the mines to worship their goddess. And this is the site that helped us to solve the whole problem of when these mines were made.
Sariel tells me that archaeologists have uncovered evidence which shows it was the pharaohs of ancient Egypt who used to control these mines.
So,
but they did so about 400 years before Solomon.
What they found here is a small shrine dedicated to the Egyptian goddess Hathor. And she is the first and the strongest independent woman. The Egyptian goddess is here in the Negev because her worshippers were here in the Negev. So basically, the people who did all the shafts that we saw were Egyptians. So if King Solomon was here, he was very elusive, or his people were very elusive archaeologically. But what we have is a wonderful archaeological site, mining of copper in ancient times by Egyptians and by others without King Solomon, unfortunately.
So the tourist maps are wrong. King Solomon had nothing to do with these mines. But I have discovered two vital clues. I now know how precious ores were extracted in ancient times. And I have a good idea as to what King Solomon's mines might have looked like. What I don't know is where else I should be looking for them. it's time to go back to the Bible. This is from the first book of Kings. King Solomon, it says, built a navy of ships in Etzion Geber, on the shore of the Red Sea. And they came to Ophir and fetched gold, 420 talents, and brought it to King Solomon. In today's terms, that's an astonishing 16 tons. Many biblical scholars believe that Etzion Geber was very close to the present-day port of Eilat.
This is the city of Eilat. It's at the southern tip of Israel, where the desert meets the Red Sea. Today, it's a pretty swanky resort town with some of the world's best scuba diving. But back in the time of King Solomon, it was from this area that his ships set sail for Ophir.
And that's not the only clue. The Bible also says, once in 3 years came the navy, bringing gold, silver, ivory, and apes. If Solomon's ships were gone for 3 years at a time, then their travels could have covered thousands of miles. That, plus the fact that they brought back both ivory and apes, led many to suggest that their destination Ophir was somewhere in Africa. I want to get a sense for what such a journey would have been like.
Josh.
Welcome on board, Tuli.
What's your name?
Tuli.
Tuli. Put me to work. I'll swab the deck.
On the bow line today.
You'll put me where?
On the bow line.
On the bow line. All right. Show me the way.
Captain Thule is happy to comply.
Just pull it with my hands?
Yes.
There's no motor.
No motor. Your hands are the motor. The body
Got
is
it.
the motor.
Okay, so when you say so,
You
I'm just
put
going
it
to pull
in.
on this.
Exactly. Put it on the...
Boy Scouts, baby. So, Julie, how long would it take to get from here to South Africa?
About a month's time. Depends on the wind directions.
I've got one of these gizmos, which I'm sure Solomon's sailors would have killed for. It says from here to Mozambique is 3,100 miles, and we're now going 4.4 miles an hour. That's a lot of hours.
It's a lot of hours by the sea.
So at best, it's several weeks, 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
And worse, with bad weather and a slow ship, it would take them a lot longer.
Even longer trip. Yeah.
So they had to be pretty determined.
To go there and bring the gold, yeah.
Yeah.
As the sun sets, we leave modern-day Israel behind us. Now I'm following in the wake of Solomon's sailors, setting sail for an alien land full of strange animals and the promise of untold riches. I'm searching for the Queen of Sheba's mythical land of Ophir, the source of King Solomon's gold. I've seen how precious ores were mined in ancient times in Israel, but I have yet to find any evidence that gold was mined there too.
So what is this?
This is copper mineral.
No gold. Then why are these called King Solomon's mines?
I've also found clues in the Bible suggesting that King Solomon's sailors brought him his gold from much farther away. Could Solomon's fleet have traveled all the way down the Swahili coast of East Africa? There's plenty of archaeological evidence suggesting these ancient ports traded with the Middle East for several thousand years. Could Solomon's sailors have left their ships and made their way inland to a place like this, the modern southern African nation of Zimbabwe? Back in the 19th century, that's exactly what some people believed. Local historian Paul Tingay has written extensively on this subject.
I'm on a quest to find the source of the gold used in King Solomon's mines. The Bible takes me a certain distance, but after that, there's really no information given.
I think you're looking for the thing we'd all like to have found: King Solomon's mines, the Queen of Sheba's court, Ophir. But there was one man who is absolutely believed that here, somewhere in southern Africa, was that Ophir. And that was a chap, a young geologist, German geologist, called Karl Mausch. He came in 1871, and any journey like this would have been pretty tough. You're really going through malaria areas, you've got enormous amounts of wild game, and not necessarily a friendly reception from the local folk. He had only one sort of driving thing in his life, and that was to find the biblical Ophir. He actually discovered gold in Zimbabwe.
So the history of gold in Zimbabwe is well established.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they were mining, they were panning in the rivers. And it was well known to the Arabs, the Swahili traders who came in from Zanzibar and Oman, that there was gold here. And nowadays, of course, oh, there are huge mines here. There's a lot of gold exported from Zimbabwe.
Paul has put me in touch with a friend who works in a modern gold mine in Zimbabwe.
Are you Daniel?
Hello, yeah, I'm Daniel.
All right, Josh.
I'm curious to know if it's anything like the kind of mines which operated back in King Solomon's time.
Yeah, sure.
Before they'll let me go down underground, I've got to change into proper gear. Got to wear this: a hard hat, overalls, gumboots. Reporting for duty. Let's go. This is my first underground mine.
We're going to 18 level.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's it first. Hey, don't brag. We got the driver on board. We are moving! This is exciting. Is there much of a view? No, okay, there goes the view. For me, it's exciting.
It is, oh yeah. Because
We're traveling to the bottom of the mine, level 18, which is 2,181 feet below the surface. That's almost half a mile.
Welcome to 18 level.
Thank you. You have 3 shafts coming off of here,
Yeah.
and then these split into more shafts.
Into more wet areas.
So from the 18th level, it just kind of fans out into lots of different mine shafts. Lead on.
Yeah.
Follow you.
All right then.
Unlike ancient miners, workers now use dynamite to blast their way through tons of rock. In 2003, more than $12 million worth of gold was produced here.
So this is what you're actually mining.
Yes. If you look at these sulfides, it shows that there is a lot of gold.
So this is an indicator that says there's gold in this rock.
Absolutely.
So what happens next? You take this to the surface?
To the surface, to the plant where it's crushed, and the gold extracted.
As we approach the blasting zone, the air temperature rises.
I can also smell it.
Yeah.
No, I can.
Oh, sure.
I smell it, and it's warmer. It's a lot warmer.
Oh, yeah. Of course, that's where men are working.
This is where we go up.
Yeah, we're gonna go up there where those guys are working.
I mean, it feels foreign. It feels like I have absolutely no right to be between these massive rocks. And then this little stick, you just go, squish.
The closer we get, the more treacherous the climb.
This is not the kind of space where someone who's claustrophobic should venture into. It's really tight. The pitch, just take a look at it. We're like this. We're struggling to keep flat against this rock. And there's not much visibility except for what our headlamps show. Hey, look over this way. Look at the drillers.
The miners' drills are deafening. Hitting a pocket of gas is an ever-present danger, so there's nothing down here with a spark plug. In fact, these drills are powered by compressed air. That air is fed to the machines and to us from the surface, almost half a mile above our heads. It's time to make my way back to the main mineshaft elevator.
That was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I never would have thought that this is how mining is done. But if I were here 3,000 years ago and I did not have water, electricity, compressed air, how could people have pulled gold out of these rocks?
They wouldn't have gone this deep.
They wouldn't have been this deep.
No.
So they would have stayed closer to the surface.
To the surface, yeah.
So it sounds like there's plenty of gold here, but for my purposes, I need to be exploring closer to the surface.
Zimbabwe really is rich in gold, but not so rich that we don't get searched before we leave the mine.
Being searched for gold nuggets. He doesn't know where I've hidden them, though. My hat? Good? Yes. He didn't find them. We're clean. Run!
From the mine, it's a 5-hour drive to a place called Great Zimbabwe. Paul Tingay will be there to meet me. The next day, the sun rises a beautiful crimson red. over this mysterious location. The place that Karl Mauch prized more highly than gold. Paul tells me that the German explorer really did discover plenty of gold here in Zimbabwe. It's just that it wasn't his ultimate goal. Mauch was driven by a grander dream of discovering a lost city in the wilderness.
So tell me, Josh, how did you enjoy your trip down the mine?
Oh, I loved it, but it's much more commercial than what I'm guessing Karl Mauch experienced.
Oh, yes, absolutely. But of course, that wasn't why he was here at all.
So he found gold, but he kept going.
Absolutely. I mean, he was looking for something completely different. He was actually looking for this fabulous African city. He was actually looking for Ophir.
Could these ruins be the actual capital of Ophir, the court of the Queen of Sheba, the true source of King Solomon's gold? I'm searching for one of the most famous and elusive caches in history, the gold mines of the Bible's wisest and wealthiest ruler, King Solomon. I've learned that some of the gold was a gift from the Queen of Sheba, and some was brought from a mysterious land called Ophir. In the 1870s, a German explorer named Karl Mauch crisscrossed southern Africa looking for the biblical Ophir. Eventually, he came here, to the amazing ruins of Great Zimbabwe. It's sub-Saharan Africa's largest pre-colonial stone structure. Edward Matanga, the curator of the site, is showing me around.
As you can see, this is the main entrance.
This place is huge.
This is the largest pre-colonial structure in sub-Saharan Africa.
How much of this site is original versus reconstructed?
The great enclosure is for the most part original.
I can see why Karl Mauch spent so much time here. These walls are incredible. How tall is this?
This is 11 meters tall.
That's unbelievable. And there's nothing in here.
No, it's
but
all
rock, just
rock,
solid.
Stones. As you can see, this is built of stones without the use of mortar.
These dry stone walls are made up of millions of granite rocks quarried from the hills around Great Zimbabwe. The walls were designed to be thinner at the top and wider at the base, utilizing gravity to keep all the stones in place. Amazingly, without the use of mortar.
This place was a shrine.
This place is very significant to the ancestors of Edward's people, the Shona, who ruled over a large part of southern Africa. It was a ritual gathering place. But sometime after its peak in the 14th century, it was abandoned. Of course, the German explorer Karl Mauch knew none of this. He had spent 6 years trekking through southern Africa, searching for the mysterious land of Ophir and the source of King Solomon's wealth. So when he discovered Great Zimbabwe in 1871, he was sure that he'd found exactly what he'd been looking for. Mauch, like many European explorers of his day, was a racist. He simply could not believe that black Africans built these amazing structures. Moreover, he was desperate to prove to the world that this place was the biblical Ophir, that it had ties back to the ancient Middle East.
I'm guessing that when Karl Mauch came here in the 1870s, he didn't know as much about archaeology as we do today. So was there anything physical, anything tangible that he saw that said to him, this must be from King Solomon or the Queen of Sheba?
Karl Mauch was unfortunate to have been misled by the finding of a piece of wood.
Mauch was intent on providing a link between Great Zimbabwe and the Bible. Even the most tenuous evidence was enough for him. For example, when Mauch discovered a beam made of aromatic wood, he immediately jumped to the extraordinary conclusion that it was cedar, the same wood King Solomon had used to build his temple in Jerusalem.
And so he thinks, because in the Bible it says Solomon used cedars from Lebanon, he figures these are cedars from Lebanon, and therefore this must be built by Solomon.
Absolutely, that's the kind of story that he constructed.
Many European settlers embraced Mauch's ideas. Mauch, they said, had proved that a biblical kingdom once existed in the heart of Africa. As a result, Christian colonizers could lay claim to an ancient title to these lands, one that predated the claims of native Africans. And the fact that Mauch also discovered gold at Great Zimbabwe only ensured that even his wildest speculations were accepted as truth. In fact, his findings triggered a kind of gold rush. European prospectors headed to the ancient city and systematically plundered the ruins. Their exploits were given the aura of respectability. A company was established to oversee the operation, but this was no archaeological site. Trenches were dug everywhere, and many of the walls were destroyed. Priceless artifacts were found, but they were almost all melted down, destroying vital evidence about the real history of this place. It would be almost 60 years later before a serious archaeological study of Great Zimbabwe would be undertaken. It was led by an Englishwoman, Gertrude Caton Thompson. She was appalled by what she found. The site had been ransacked by a succession of treasure seekers. She thought the true origins of Great Zimbabwe might be lost forever. But Caton Thompson didn't give up. Instead, she performed an aerial survey of the site. It was at the time a revolutionary idea. She was looking for evidence of human habitation, which had somehow escaped the looters. Amazingly, she spotted a site which was completely undisturbed. Back on the ground, Caton Thompson began to excavate. Almost everything she discovered was of African rather than Middle Eastern origin. It soon became clear. Great Zimbabwe had been built by the ancestors of the Shona people, who still live in the area today.
So you're saying that this site can help explain what Great Zimbabwe was all about?
Caton Thompson actually proved beyond a reasonable doubt that this site was essentially African.
So Karl Mauch's original belief that he found Ophir faded away.
Absolutely.
But Caton Thompson did more than disprove Mauch. The foreign ceramics and beads she discovered showed that Great Zimbabwe was at the center of a complex and sophisticated trading network, one that stretched from Central Africa to Persia, India, even China. In fact, she proved that Great Zimbabwe was at the hub of Southern Africa's gold trade. And since then, it's been shown that the mining techniques used at Great Zimbabwe were very similar to the ancient techniques I'd learned about in southern Israel. But there's still no link to King Solomon. Carbon dating has shown that this site was occupied between the 9th and the 14th centuries AD, nearly 2,000 years after Sheba and Solomon.
So it looks like I've struck out twice on my quest to find King Solomon's mines.
Still, there is one other place in Africa which claims strong ties to the Queen of Sheba. Its claim, while not endorsed by all archaeologists, is certainly more credible than Karl Mauch's.
That's gold?
This is the gold. The yellow one is gold.
The search for King Solomon's mines and the Queen of Sheba is not over yet.
But now it is already eroded.
Word is she came from northern Ethiopia. That's where I need to go next.
I'm on the trail of one of history's most famous treasures, King Solomon's mines. The Bible tells us that the gold in Solomon's temple came from the land of Ophir. But it doesn't tell us where Ophir is. So far, I've drawn a blank in both Israel and Zimbabwe. But I'm not giving up yet. I'm taking another plane deeper into Africa, to the fascinating and beautiful country of Ethiopia. This place claims an ancient link to the Queen of Sheba, but in modern times it's unfortunately better known for famine and war.
I've just landed in Axum in northern Ethiopia. Until recently, this was the front line of a border war with Eritrea, and it wouldn't have been safe for me to be here.
Today, the UN supervises a fragile peace, and the people of Axum get on with their lives.
come to the town of Axum in northern Ethiopia, not far from the border of Eritrea. This may look like a sleepy provincial town today, but these giant stelae testify to the fact that this was once the seat of power for both kings and queens.
Axum has a deep connection with the Queen of Sheba. According to legend, she was born here, and this was her palace.
These walls are all that remains of the Queen of Sheba's palace. Unfortunately, they're not telling me much.
It's well preserved, but there's no incontrovertible archaeological evidence that the Queen of Sheba ever reigned here. But custom still insists that she did once live nearby. To find out more, I'm heading to the country's capital, Addis Ababa, to speak with a leading Ethiopian historian, a specialist in ancient mining techniques. He may have some clue to the whereabouts of King Solomon's mine. Addis Ababa, the bustling heart of Ethiopia. It's also a place where most of the country's gold is bought gold. Dr. Haile Gebrselassie, Department Chair for History, Addis Ababa University.
Have a seat, please.
Thank you.
Coffee?
So I'd like to, since you're a historian, what can you tell me about the Queen of Sheba and the gold trade here in Ethiopia?
Queen Sheba is said to have lived in the 1000 BC.
Tekla tells me the Queen of Sheba is believed to have ruled here in 1000 BC.
And it's said that
After hearing about King Solomon's great wisdom, she became intrigued.
she is said to have
Sheba traveled to Jerusalem with a treasure trove of gifts, including vast amounts of gold.
In the Bible, it said that King Solomon hoarded at Ophir. Do you know anything about Ophir?
Yes, to me it was Ethiopia which provided Solomon with gold because Ophir.
Tekla believes that the land referred to as Ophir in the Bible is the coastal area known as Afar. It's only 300 miles from here. Was it to Afar that King Solomon's ships once sailed? Did they then travel inland in search of gold? One thing is certain, Ethiopia has an ancient gold industry. Even today, the streets of Addis Ababa are literally lined with jewelers and gold merchants.
Beautiful.
Where did these craftsmen and artists get their gold? Could it be the same place that the Queen of Sheba got hers?
That's some beautiful stuff. And everything here is made in the store. Can I take a look at one of these rings?
Yes, sure.
Second one closest. No, this way. Yeah, that one.
It's really wonderful.
Yeah. So where do you get your rings from?
We make them here.
You make this stuff here?
Yes, sir.
Really?
In our workshop here.
Is that something that I could take a look at?
Yes, you can, sure.
Beautiful.
It turns out that this is not your average Main Street jeweler. Amazingly, they actually turn raw gold into jewelry in the back of the store.
Do you buy the gold direct yourself?
Yes, there are suppliers. We buy them. We buy from them.
And then you bring it back here,
and
melt it, and make your own jewelry.
Yes.
It takes a 1400-degree Fahrenheit flame to smelt gold. Tekla tells me this is the same way Ethiopians have been turning raw gold into jewelry for the past 3,000 years. In other words, since the time of Sheba.
That's the ring?
Yeah.
And how does this work? You put it like this?
Yeah.
And there's going to be this on top? So from here you polish it?
We polish it, we file it, we polish it, and make.
And then you sell it?
Yeah.
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow you sell it. Oh.
I can show you how they polish it. How
Yeah?
they polish the gold, yeah.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They don't just cast basic rings. They also craft intricate jewelry, like these famous Ethiopian crosses.
First heated to polish it. Yes.
He made this cross?
Yes, he made it.
How long
A
does it
skill
take?
which has been passed down through the ages since Sheba's time.
Okay. So this is handmade here. Ethiopian cross with Ethiopian gold.
Yes.
Do you know where the gold that went into this cross came from?
Kebra Mengist.
Have you heard of Kebra Mengist?
All the gold in this shop comes from Kebra Mengist, a gold-rich region to the south.
If I can get us there, you'll come with me?
I will come with you.
Okay. That's good.
Teklas told me that the Queen of Sheba's biblical kingdom may well have been modern-day Ethiopia,
That's gold in there.
and that gold from this region could have actually made it to King Solomon's court. I've got a lead on a traditional Ethiopian gold mine, and I'm going to check it out. But I've still got to find it, and spotting the remnants of ancient mining will be a challenge, even from the air. I'm searching for King Solomon's mines, for the source of his wealth in the mysterious land of Ophir, and for whatever's left of a motherlode of gold, which according to the Bible, the Queen of Sheba gave to King Solomon. I've crawled through a 3,000-year-old copper mine in Israel's Negev desert, ventured deep underground in a modern gold mine in Zimbabwe, and traveled to an ancient city in southern Africa.
This place is huge.
So far, my search has been in vain. But now that I'm in Ethiopia, maybe my luck will finally change. One of the country's best historians has told me that Ophir may simply be an ancient name for Ethiopia's coastal region, now called Afar. And there's more. Here in Addis Ababa, I've learned about a place called Kebre Mengist. It's located in a remote part of the country, yet it happens to be the center of a gold mining industry that's thousands of years old. It's 500 miles from Addis to Kebre Mengist. But there's no way I'm not making this last leg of my quest.
It's 7 a.m. and I'm at Bole International Airport in Addis Ababa, the capital of Ethiopia. I've come here to meet Vern Bell, a bush pilot who's agreed to take me and Dr. Gebre Selassie south for some exploring. I'm hoping that with Vern's knowledge of the backcountry and Tekle's knowledge of Ethiopian mining history, I can finally find the gold mines of King Solomon.
We're heading for a very remote part of southwestern Ethiopia.
How are you?
Even by plane, it's not an easy place to get to. As we fly deeper into the backcountry, we see the scars left by modern mining operations. But we're looking for ancient mines, and they're much harder to spot. As I learned in Israel, detecting ancient mining operations isn't easy. To add to the challenge, our destination isn't even on the map.
So where we're going today is unusual.
Yeah, I've not been before.
After 90 minutes in the air, we reach Kebre Mengist. It's a small village with a landing strip of sorts. According to Tekla, this is where the gold mines should be.
We landed as close as we could, and now it's about a 15-20 minute drive to the actual mines.
As we approach what we hope is a mining area, I'm surprised that there's no evidence of an ancient settlement, and no large structures to suggest a mining community.
Cow crossing.
Yeah.
This is it, right?
Yep, we have arrived here.
This is as close as we can get to the mines by car. From here, we go by foot. This is the mining community?
Yeah, this is a mining community which settles here and mines in the riverside there. But
Tekla tells me that these mining communities are not permanent.
And any gold that each person finds.
Once the workers have exhausted the site, they move on.
So they're not getting rich on the gold.
No, they don't.
But they make a living.
They make a living.
Hand over there for a second. Just take a look.
Battalion.
We have the whole village following us.
We are going to the original place where they get the rocks.
It's up here on the mountainside.
Yeah.
Walking up the hill, we come across deep holes in the ground. They look very similar to the mines I saw in Israel, and to the ancient mining practices I heard about in Zimbabwe.
People mine the rock.
This is a mine shaft.
Yeah.
But according to Tekla, this area, unlike Timna or Great Zimbabwe, was being actively mined during the reign of King Solomon.
Yeah.
And they climb their way up.
Exactly.
And so they're pulling rocks out of here,
Yeah.
bringing them down there.
But they use these buckets and pull it.
From the top of the hill, I can finally get an idea of the scale of what's going on here. This hillside is pockmarked with small, deep holes, just like the mine workings in Timna, some 2,000 miles away in Israel. and hundreds of people are working here, all of them searching for gold. This really is a community effort, and the entire village is in the gold trade.
So this one just started?
Yeah, they are starting.
How long have they been digging this hole?
Today, they started
Just today?
Yeah. These stones are the signals of that. It's glittering, yeah?
And that tells them that there might be gold in the soil.
Yeah.
So what's happening here?
They are processing it here.
So it's definitely not a one-man show. It's more of a community effort.
It's a community effort, in fact. One man cannot do this one. It has to be by group. It has to be done by group.
What's going on over here?
First, they have brought the rock from somewhere else, and they are grinding it here.
In these iron pits?
Yes, they crush it.
And everything's by hand?
Everything is by hand.
That's some good work.
But
Can I
you
give it a shot? Can I help? All right? Here, come on.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. Load it up. All right.
Then
anything else? Where's my gold?
Yeah.
Throughout my journey, I've seen archaeological evidence of ancient mining techniques. But here, I can actually witness these techniques in action. I can only imagine the immense amount of manpower it would have taken to provide King Solomon with the estimated 24 tons of gold that he shipped out of Ophir every year. After seeing the rocks being pounded, Tekla takes me to see the next step in the process.
So Tekla, tell me what's going on here.
after having ground the soil, they are washing the soil in order to get the gold, that which is very heavy.
That's gold.
Yeah, exactly. With other minerals.
The final step in the process is called panning. Using water, the heavy gold is separated from the lighter, less valuable minerals.
They clean it completely, then they start. Yeah.
More water.
Look.
That's gold.
Yeah, exactly.
That's gold.
This is the gold. The yellow one is gold.
gold.
Yeah.
So what happens to the dust? The gold
Then
dust?
he collects that and melts it later on. Now
But I'm wondering, with this technique, how long has this been going on?
that's a traditional.
This is traditional. This is the exact method. But these the same wooden
process.
bowls
Same process.
would have been here
Yeah.
several thousand years ago.
Exactly.
3,000 years ago, when King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba had access to these lands in southern Ethiopia, they could have farmed tons and tons of gold and left absolutely no scar. After a period of time, they would just disappear back into the landscape.
This is nothing like the mines of Timnah, which I saw in southern Israel. There, the ancient mines were preserved. Here, a combination of softer soil and seasonal rains means that even the oldest mines are just a few years old. But another kind of evidence does endure. It's the people. More specifically, it's the way they mine their gold. These are not King Solomon's actual mines, but this is almost certainly what they would have looked like. More remarkably, the miners working here today could well be the descendants of the men and women who 3,000 years ago toiled for King Solomon and for the Queen of Sheba.